Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. I am Amy with Growing Your Faith, and today we are going to kind of start digging into our 2 Corinthians Bible study. So from the 1st to the 5th, we are going to do a 2 Corinthians overview. So today I'm going to explain and show you kind of what that is going to look like. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is read the entire book of 2 Corinthians. But I find sometimes that if we kind of go ahead and get our overview of the whole book first and gather some information, it kind of helps us a little bit as we go through and read. So if you have this Bible, or if you have a good study Bible, some of them will give you an introduction to the book. This is going to be super helpful for you because it's going to give you those different things that you need. So down here at the bottom, I have this gather information. Who wrote the book? When did they write it? Why did they write it? And then as you read, do you notice a theme or a bunch of repeated words? So if we grab our Bible here and head to 2 Corinthians. You will see here that she gives you a little bit of information about the book. So she doesn't give you a lot in this one. I should grab my other Bible because I think my other Bible gives more information. So she does tell us that Paul, who was the apostle to the Gentiles, is the one who wrote this letter. It says he was strong in faith, confident, and greatly used by Paul. He was loved by multitudes and hated by countless others. Determined that the grace of God poured out on him would not prove vain, Paul labored with more effort than anyone else. However, Paul's labor was not without cost. He endured conflicts without and fears within. Yet he persevered. What were his conflicts, fears, his sufferings? Are they similar to yours? And how did he endure? What held him? As Paul writes his second epistle to the Corinthians from Macedonia, probably in the winter of AD 55, he provides answers to these questions. Okay, so this kind of gives you an idea of what this book is going to be about. His conflicts and fears and his sufferings, and then maybe a way that we can connect those to ours, and how did he endure, and then how can we translate that, and how can we endure in our sufferings. So this gives us, Paul wrote the book. He probably wrote the book in the winter of AD 55. And then why did he write it? And this is something that's probably going to show up as we go through and learn. So it's kind of something that we need to keep an eye on. Let me check and see what... this one says. This Bible is actually a really good Bible. This is the Charles Stanley Life Principles. I think it's a New King James, and so I really like it a lot. It has some life lessons and stuff in there that's really, really good. Okay, this one gives you a really good bit of information here. So the theme here is primarily a defense and vindication of Paul's apostolic ministry. So yet again, Paul is dealing with people who are trying to infiltrate the church and say that he is not who he is. So the structure, the letter divides easily into 3 sections. In the first, Paul explains why he changed the timing of his third visit to Corinth. So this is chapters 1 through 7. In the second section, he is urging the church to prepare for his arrival, which is chapters 8 through 9. And in the last, he defends his apostolic authority and warns that he will use it to discipline the church if necessary in chapters 10 through 13. And so you can see here, depending on the study Bible that you get, you can have a bunch of good information here that kind of helps you out. So the other thing that you're going to want to take note of is if your Bible has these bold numbers here, that kind of lets you know where your sections are going to be. And you don't have to write those down or anything right now, but you just need to notice if your Bible has that. So this one does, and the NASB definitely does. So that'll really, really help you a lot. Now that you kind of know what's going on in these different chapters, you can get started with your reading. So I advise you to read through the entire book of 2 Corinthians, preferably in an NASB or an ESV version. If that's not the Bible that you have, you can get access to those online for free. So Blue Letter Bible has those. The Bible app also has those. And so you can check those out there for free, and you don't have to buy a Bible to do that. The reason why I say this is because they are word for word translations, and it is very important in the beginning to, whenever you're studying, to have a word for word translation. I also think that you should read it through. Again, we have 5 days, so you've got plenty of time to read it through, probably at least twice. And you can do either an audio version next, or you could try a different version like the NLT or the NIV, something a little bit lighter that is more thought for thought translations. You'll notice differences, so kind of make note of those. Maybe one has a lot more words, or maybe they use a different way to explain things. You can take notes of those things as you go along. The other thing you're going to want to do is take notes. You're going to want to make sure that you're taking notes. So here's what I did, and I will show you that through this video. Okay, so you can see here that I'm just I am reading through my NASB version of the Bible, and I am in the back here, and I am starting to take notes on what I'm reading. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm taking notes on for every single chapter, but I want you to see that I'm reading through, and if I don't understand something, or if there's a word like vacillating, I don't know even how to say that word, but I don't know what it is. So I'm going to write it down, and I am going to look it up later, because it's just one of those things that was really standing out to me. I also want to make note of things like, I'm reading the first verse, and this is saying that Paul wrote this. He's talking about suffering a lot. Maybe that's going to be a theme. Different things like that I'm making note of. And then I'll switch over and do chapter 2 and chapter 3 and continue on like that. But these notes are going to be very personal. They're going to be based on how much you already know about the Bible, or if you're totally fresh and new to this, they're going to be based on how much of Paul's work have you read? Do you understand his way of writing? Because he definitely has his own way of writing. The other day I was reading and I was like, oh wow, I'm really getting the hang of Paul. And then it was like, whoa, wait, here's a whole section of verses and I have no clue what he just said, because he just has a very different writing style. And I think it's beautiful and wonderful, but sometimes it can be super confusing. And so if you hit a patch of verses that's really confusing, I was in chapter, I was in one of these chapters. Oh yeah, I was in chapter 3 verses 7 through 11, and I actually made a note going confusing, because you just sometimes you're just not sure, and that's totally fine. Just make a note of it, and note any themes or anything like that you are seeing. Write any words that you're not sure of. You can also write down names of places so that you can look them up on a map later. if there's words or whole phrases that you don't understand, and even if there's some names of some people that you don't know and maybe you want to get a little bit more information on them, you can write those down. So you can see how this is going to get really, really personal, because if you've studied the book of Acts, then you probably know most everybody that he is mentioning here. But if you haven't studied the book of Acts, then maybe you don't, and you want to go look those up and kind of see who they are and how Paul knows them and things like that, and that's totally fine. So yeah, so just read through the entire book and take notes on each individual chapter as you go along. Okay, so this is what we are going to do for the first 5 days. So you have 5 days to go through this, read each one of the chapters. There's 14 chapters, but they are pretty short chapters. It took me about 20 minutes to get through 7 chapters. So it's definitely doable in one sitting probably. It just may take you close to an hour to get it done, and that's totally fine. I think that there is a huge value to reading an entire book of the Bible in one sitting, because you get a perspective on it that you are not going to get if you read one chapter a day and you've kind of forgotten what you read, 5 days ago. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so this is how we are going to get started, and I'm going to leave you to do that for the next 5 days. On the 6th, I will be back and we will start talking about maybe I'll talk about it on the 5th, and then we will start digging into the chapter on the 6th, and I will be with you every step of the way for chapters 1 and chapters 2. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so that you get the notifications when those videos come out. I will also be posting them on the blog and in the Facebook group. So if you are part of the Facebook group, you will get notifications there, and you can check the post for updates as well. So if you have any questions, make sure you put those in the comments here or in the group or on the blog. That's all of those places are fine. Or you can also email me if you want to, growingyourfaith1@gmail.com, if you need to email me personally. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.